Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Josie. And if you've been following my channel, you know that twice a year I do a memorial video for my daughter who passed away in 1969 of muscular dystrophy. She was 9.5 years old. So I'll put a disclaimer. First of all, I do not monetize these memorial videos. These are to honor my daughter. And once in a while, I will get a thumbs down. And all I can say is if you give a thumbs down on a memorial video, I feel sorry for you. And I will pray for you. Anyway, to get back to my beautiful daughter, the reason why I do this, besides honoring her, this little girl had more faith in God than so many adults. The things that she said before she passed away has always made me very strong and given me faith. And yes, I've missed her all these years, and I do know that someday I will see her again. Now, her dad passed away in October, so he was a believer, and I know he's with her now. Cheryl was a bright little girl, a very stubborn little girl. And I do tell this story in most of the memorial videos. Her stubbornness is what got her through this. Uh, how she even got diagnosed, her and her brother had a really bad cough and cold. And they got over it, but the doctor wanted to do a chest x-ray to make sure. And they found that Cheryl had an enlarged heart. And you could look at her and know that something was wrong. That what was amazing is her primary doctor actually did something about it and sent us to Portland. Um, when we lived in Northern California, my daughter didn't just have a primary doctor, she had a pediatrician, and all they used to say is feed her more. But anyway, they sent us to Portland and did tests on Cheryl and diagnosed her with muscular dystrophy. So this little girl loved school. In fact, she had to be really sick before she missed the day of school. The day before she passed away, her little feet were so edematous, so swollen because she had congestive heart failure. And she wanted to go to school. And I said, honey, I can't get your shoes on. You know, that's how much she loved school, and that's how much she loved church. She loved going to church on Sunday. But what I'll save what she said before she passed away more at the end of the video. But the doctor had told me that Cheryl would never learn to ride a bicycle. And the deal was, we had told both kids, her and her brother, that they were going to have surgery. They were going to have a tonsillectomy. They were going to get their tonsils removed. But we were going to buy them both a bicycle, which we did. And even in saying that, even when we found out Cheryl wasn't going to have her tonsils removed, we were going to give her the bicycle. So I had told the doctor about that, and he said, Cheryl will never learn to ride a bicycle. So I didn't say anything. And at that time, I wasn't a nurse. So time went on. She went outside with my assistant and tried to ride it, and she failed all the time. And this was about a month or two before she passed away. She said, Mommy, I want to try again. So I went out there with her. And then finally she told me to go in the house. And so I watched through the window to make sure, she was okay. And she tried. And she came in the house. kind of cheerful. And I said, Cheryl, how much do you want to learn to ride that bicycle? And she said, Mommy, more than anything in this world. And I said, okay, then go out there and try. And the Lord was with her because my little girl learned to ride a bicycle. She didn't get to ride it for very long, but she learned to ride her bicycle, and she was the happiest little girl. So anyway, and at that time, getting back to muscular dystrophy, they absolutely didn't know as much as they know about it now. There are different types of muscular dystrophy, but where it attacks the muscles, and your heart is a muscle, it attacks her muscle in her heart, and so it enlarged her heart. And at that time, there was no heart transplants. And first of all, since she had muscular dystrophy, she wouldn't have qualified if there was. So that's what actually on her death certificate, that's what it said. She died of congestive heart failure. But the night that she passed away, I put her to bed, tucked her in, and then my husband and I tucked my son in bed, and then we went to bed. And we lived on a ranch in a big farmhouse, and it had a very long hallway. And I was kind of half asleep, but I had heard Cheryl at the bedroom door, and she just was talking and talking and talking. And she did this 3 different times. I'd go and put her to bed, and doctor had given me a medication for it because she had some chest pain. And anyway, I remember that the second time she was in the hall talking away, I remember her talking about angels. And I still have that feeling. The things that she was saying, I was thinking to myself, in the morning, I'm going to get up and write those down. I'm going to remember. And I was just in awe because I had never heard of any of those things on this earth. And I knew the next morning when I could not remember. The only thing I remembered is angels. And she kept saying, it was like she was talking to the angels. Can I still set the Christmas tree? She died December 11th. And I've told this story all the time, but not everyone, watches the video each year. Her dad had went out and got us a tree, but it had been snowing and the tree was wet, and we couldn't put the lights on it. So he put it in our back porch to dry overnight. And Cheryl loved Christmas. In fact, I would take her to the church bazaar and she would buy little gifts for everyone. And, but that was the thing. She kept asking, can I still set the Christmas tree? And what I assumed that the angels told her they were taking her home. And I remember that really clearly. But the things that I was in awe about, the Lord Jesus never let me remember because I wasn't supposed to remember them. I know someday I'll know the reason and know the answer. So anyway, the third time that she was in the hall, and she says, Mommy, I'm cold. And I said, well, come and get in bed with Daddy and Mom. And so she did, and she was on my side of the bed. And when we woke up in the morning and I looked at her and I knew she was gone. With the congestive heart failure too, you could see her heartbeat pounding from across the room, and it was totally quiet. It was nothing. So we called the doctor and he called the funeral home. But this little girl was the bravest, strongest little girl. She loved the Lord. She did not want to miss church. And I used the Bible that she was gifted from the church a few months before she passed away. And that's the Bible I use. I still have the same it's a little marker and it's a heart. And another reason why I like to do these videos, as humans, sometimes, we have our doubt, we get fearful, we're afraid about, is heaven really real? Yes, it is. It really is. I have never lost my faith, and I've had some ups and downs in my life. I've never lost my faith. I remember that night so vivid, so very vivid. And so I do these to maybe give somebody some hope. And I can tell you, in everything you go through in life, and I'm not saying anything is easy, I'm not saying losing a spouse isn't hard or parents, but when you lost a child, there is no greater hurt that you will ever endure. And I don't think it makes you so much hard, it makes you stronger. If you can get through that, and I only got through it because of my faith. I knew there was a heaven. And I knew with muscular dystrophy, she could have suffered so much more. Now, when Cheryl went to sleep at night, her eyes never closed completely because, the muscles, it affects all of your body. She was able to walk. She never totally crippled, but she was very, very thin. She had what they call butterfly wings. She was very, very thin. In fact, I used to make her dresses because one shoulder was higher than the other shoulder. And I wanted her to always look, nice. And she was a tough little girl. She'd come home from school one day and some of the kids, she had some good friends that stood by her and helped her at school. But there's also the ones that, teased her because she was so skinny. And she come home and she said, next time, Mommy, they tease me, I'm going to beat them up. And I love that strength in that little girl. Um, she never was afraid. She was loving, strong. And the one thing that usually gets to me, uh, and I don't remember exactly if I said it in the last memorial video, that one time we were just talking about, kids growing up and getting married. And I said, someday, Cheryl, you're going to grow up and get married and have children. And this was actually before she was actually diagnosed. And she looks at me with kind of sad eyes and she says, no, Mommy. That's not going to happen. And the one thing about children that have any kind of disability, uh, especially physical disability, uh, they're more adult. They're more, um, I don't know, they just have they act older than their age, more mature. So anyway, to get back to this, I want you to look at that beautiful face. And I know all mothers think their children are beautiful. I'm sorry, there's a glare. I'm doing this in the evening, so uh, anyway, I love to honor my daughter. She was my life. She was my firstborn, and with all these years, she died in 1969. She was born in 1960. So I hope you like this type of video. I know it's different from my typical videos. But like I said, if it inspires one person to keep their faith, and when you lose somebody, or someone, I should say, um, and they believe in the Lord Jesus, you know where they're going, and if you believe, you will be seeing them someday. So, um, thank you for watching, and God bless each and every one of you. I hope that, like I said, if it helps one person, it's worth doing these videos. And I know she's in heaven, but I like to honor her here on earth. God bless everyone. Bye.